Hi everyone, I'm Omar Rodriguez and today we're gonna be making two recipes, Quesitos and Pastelillos de Guayaba. These desserts are mostly used in Puerto Rico. You can see them in any kind of party or like a gift. So if you're planning to surprise your family or give a nice touch to a friend, this is the perfect idea. Now, before we get started, let's preheat the oven. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Now, if it's a gas oven, you should put it to 400 degrees instead. First of all, we're gonna start with the quesitos. For this, you need the following ingredients: 8 ounces of cream cheese, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 ounces of sugar glaze. You can replace this with sugar and water if you don't have it, and approximately 4 ounces of flour. And the most important ingredient, 1.5 foot of pastry dough. You can find this at your local bakery store or a supermarket. First of all, we're gonna start with the quesito mixture. For this, just put in a bowl the cream cheese, the sugar, and the vanilla. And start mixing until you're left with a soft and creamy texture. My family loves when I make these desserts because they always turn out to be sweeter than the ones that you can buy in a bakery. In fact, we always make them for Christmas Eve because we go in Christmas to elder houses just to give them as a Christmas gift. You should see the diabetic ones. They love to eat this. In fact, you can just change the sugar for a diet one just so they can enjoy it too. Okay, so now we have our mixture done. This is the texture it should have. So let's go ahead and start with the dough. For this, first, you need to pour some of the flour at the table so the dough doesn't stick in the table. And also some in the dough so when you start flattening, it doesn't stick to the roller. Okay, so when you start flattening the dough, you want to make sure that you get all the bubbles that the dough has, because if you don't do it, it's just gonna ruin the whole thing. And also you want to flatten in every single direction so you can take the most advantage of your dough, like so. Now that our dough is flat, let's go ahead and cut it. When cutting, you should do horizontal strips. You can make them at any size that you want, but just remember that you're gonna put the dough in the mixture in the middle. So make sure that you make it big enough for when you roll them. Now that you cut your dough and you remove the excess, let's start ahead and put the cream inside of it. For the cream, just put a line in the center of all your strips so when you roll it, it doesn't run out. Now that you have put the cream over the dough, we're gonna go ahead and moist one side of each sheet and then the other side in the back. So when we roll it, they glue together. Now that you have moist both sides and you rolled one of the sides, you're gonna roll the other side that you're missing, but make sure that you glue them together by pinching it so when they go in the oven they don't open. Now that you have finished rolling and gluing it together, it's time to cut them in the desired size that you want. Now we're gonna pass them in a tray, but first put in the tray a parchment paper so they don't glue in the tray when you put them in the oven. Now, right before we put them in the already preheated oven, we're gonna go ahead and put some of the glaze over them so when they cook they can start running over it. Now they're ready to go to the oven. You should put them in the oven for at least 20 minutes or when they start to get golden and crispy. Remember that the oven is already preheated, so be careful. Okay, so our quesitos are done. You're gonna let them cool down for at least 5 minutes, and if you wish, you can put a second glaze on top of them. So we're gonna put this over here and cool down. And let's go ahead and start with our second recipe, the pastelillos de guayaba. For this recipe, you will need to leave the oven preheated at the same temperature you left the quesitos. You will need for this recipe 1 pound of guava pastel, 4 ounces of confectionery sugar, flour, and another pastry dough. First of all, we're gonna pour flour on the table and on the dough just like we did for the quesitos. Now we're gonna flatten the dough just like we did for the quesitos, and we're gonna pop all the bubbles as well so the recipe is not ruined. Now we're gonna cut the dough as we did for the quesitos, but instead of making stripes, we're just gonna make squares. You can decide what size you're gonna make the squares. Okay, now that we have our dough cut in little squares, we're gonna go ahead and moisten all of them in one side, so when we put the guava inside, it doesn't run out. Now we're gonna put the guava paste in the microwave for at least 30 seconds so it can get softer and easier to put over the dough. Now that our guava paste is heating, we try mixing it together so you can get a softer texture. Now that you have your guava paste ready and your dough, go ahead and put some of the guava paste in half of the sheets of dough you have. Now that you have put some guava paste in some of the doughs, go ahead and put the doughs that don't have guava paste on top of those that do have. Then press all of the sides with a fork so it doesn't stick out. Now that we finished, let's go ahead and put them in the tray. And remember, the tray has to have a parchment paper on top. Now we put them in the oven at 375 degrees for 20 minutes, just like we did for the quesitos. Remember that the oven is already preheated, so be careful. And always check if they are golden or crispy. Now that our pastelillos de guayaba are ready, the last step is to pour confectionery sugar over it with a strainer. So you're finally done with your quesitos and pastelillos de guayaba. This shouldn't take you more than 1 hour to do both of them, and you should be left with at least 20 to 30 quesitos and 15 to 20 pastelillos de guayaba. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you enjoyed this recipe. I know that I'm gonna enjoy this with my family, and I hope that you can do the same. Goodbye.